Good morning. Time to measure up. All right. So we're at 26.5 inches this morning. I'm doing a challenge where I'm working on inches, the last 10 inches as opposed to the last 10 pounds for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was an actor years ago, and then I'm more of a stage actor, but you're probably aware that the live theaters are shut down, so pretty much everything is on camera now. So even though I'm 56 years old, the idea is that I'm shifting more of my work onto on camera, so I want to look and feel my best. One of the things about the camera is the camera can't see how much you weigh. The camera sees your shape and your size. Now, I don't want to get overwhelmed with this concept of physical appearance, because one of the great things about being 56 is that I'm not playing young romantic leads anymore, so I can be myself and probably still get work. However, I still want to feel comfortable on camera. And then finally, the other thing is I want to get my waist back under 26 inches because for health and longevity, I want to keep my waistline within 2 inches of where it was when I was first an adult, which was 24. So I want to keep it between 24 and 26. So that's on measuring the waist, the most important measurement for me of health. Tip number 3. We have other videos covering tip number 1 on big time, long-term weight loss, and tip number 2. Tip number 3 is manage calories in the kitchen, manage ability in the gym. One of the biggest mistakes that I believe has led to overweight and obesity, here's the book Aerobics, right there. And then this is from the letter on corpulence from William Banting, which was written in the 1860s. One of the big mistakes that I believe that we are making is that we're trying to manage calories by working out and by going to the gym. Please don't manage your calories in the gym, manage them in the kitchen. It's so much more effective to manage how much you're taking in, and whether you're in a deficit or not, it's so much better to deal with that in terms of what you eat than in what you do. Now, I'm not saying, I'm the sugar freedom woman, as you know, I am not saying that calories don't count. I'm just saying that calories don't count the most. I happen to believe that what you eat actually controls how much you eat, because my belief is, and my experience is, that when we eat sugar and starches, for somebody like me who is a carbohydrate addict, they actually increase appetite. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to eat foods that satisfy the appetite instead of increasing it. Now, so that was tip number 1. Write down what you're going to eat before you eat it every day. Keep track. Number 2, prepare for temptation. But number 3, manage calories in the kitchen, manage ability in the gym. I'd like to read you something from William Banting, and I'm an actor, so I'm going to do it in my English accent. None of my family on the side of either parent had any tendency to corpulence, obesity, and from my earliest years I had an inexpressible dread of such a calamity. So, he consulted an eminent surgeon, now long deceased, who recommended increased bodily exertion before my ordinary daily labors began, and thought rowing an excellent plan. I had the command of a good, heavy, safe boat, lived near the river, and adopted it for a couple of hours in the early morning. It is true, I gained muscular vigor, but with it a prodigious appetite, which I was compelled to indulge and consequently increased in weight until my old friend advised me to forsake the exercise. All right, back to Catherine voice. But this is 1860, you guys. Banting's doctor told him to do more exercise way back in 1860. What happened? He gained some muscle, but he also gained a prodigious appetite. In other words, he got hungry and he ended up gaining weight. So this is way back in 1860. Here's another doctor. Aerobics. This book, it came out in 1969. The paperback came out in 1970. What started in 1970? Oh yes, the slow roll, the slow grind toward our obesity crisis. I just want to read you something here. Oh my goodness. So he's talking about anaerobic exercise, intense exercise, interval training, lifting weight. I'm just going to read this. An example of the second is any exercise that demands so much oxygen in so short a time that the heart and lungs can't possibly supply it, thus creating an oxygen debt that must be paid quickly. And the only way to pay it is to stop and recover. Wind sprints, interval training, the 100-yard dash, swimming, and bicycle sprints all qualify, right? So he's talking about interval training and weightlifting. Here's what he says. Exercises like these that rapidly create large oxygen debts are used during practice by competitive athletes to build up speed. Quote, they have no place in an ordinary physical fitness program. So this book, Aerobics, it came out in 1969, paperback in 1970, where Dr. Cooper is specifically telling people, don't do intervals, don't do wind sprints, don't lift weights. We want you to do moderate intensity, steady state endurance exercise. So there were two kinds of exercise that he wanted us to reduce. He wanted us to reduce things like walking, things that don't get the heart rate going, that you can do for a long time without too much effort, and high intensity interval exercise, weightlifting, and sprints. For me, and maybe for you, those are the exact exercises that I should be doing. I should be lifting weights and I should be doing intervals. And I do agree that there are some people that aerobics seems to work for. I've met them. I've worked with them and for them. But it doesn't work for me and it may not work for you. So once again, tip number 3, manage calories in the kitchen, but manage ability in the gym. So what are we going to do instead? There are so many health benefits that come from exercise and working out. And in many ways, the way that I was able to overcome obesity back in 2008, I changed the way I exercised. I had already been experimenting with trying a low-carb diet. I hadn't been able to stick with it, probably because I was doing 12 hours of aerobics a week. But finally, in 2008, I started doing turbulence training, which was weightlifting and intervals. And I finally said, all right, I'm going to cut out the cardio. I actually argued with my trainer. I loved the elliptical machine, on the elliptical machine. And he kept trying to say, you've got to get off of that elliptical. And it wasn't until I got off of the elliptical and started doing body weight intervals and weightlifting that everything changed. Everyone will tell you, because it's true, that your weight is going to be 80% what you eat, calories in the kitchen, and 20% the exercise that you do. However, if you're doing the right kind of exercise for you, you know what I say? Eat for yourself, train for yourself. If you're doing the kind of exercise that makes you feel good, makes you feel energetic, doesn't injure you, and doesn't increase your appetite, well, that's the hat trick. That's number 1. That's awesome. So you're enjoying exercise, and it's not increasing your appetite, and it's increasing your ability to enjoy your activities of daily living. So Banting was doing all of this exercise, getting hungry and gaining weight. In 1970, we were recommended to leave behind the weightlifting, leave behind the interval training, start doing aerobics, and guess what? A whole bunch of us gained weight. So what are we going to do instead? I have lots of videos on here. You can do lots of videos. You can go and check out the 5x5, which is a great way to get started with weightlifting. There's interval training that you can do. I'm just going to say, do exercises that either that you enjoy or that make a difference in your life. So for example, as a theater person, I'm a dancer. So I'm going to get a significant amount of my exercise from practicing dance. And then the other thing about practicing dance is when I do that, I'm concentrated on my ability. I'm concentrating on how good my tendu is. I'm concentrating on how good my pirouettes are. or my grapevines or my shuffle step or any of those things. I'm not concentrating on how long I can keep going. Because if I'm concentrating on how long I keep going, I'm not paying attention to my posture, I'm not paying attention to the quality of the movement, I'm just trying to keep going. And this is where I end up getting hurt, I end up getting injured, and I increase my cortisol and it increases my appetite. If you've been going to the gym or if you've been training at home, obviously I don't want you to stop training. I love training. I adore physical exercise. But what I want you to do is shift your thinking. So when you go into any exercise session, whether you're going into a class or whether you're training at home or whether you're going to the gym, I'd like you to shift your thinking from duration and endurance, shift your thinking to ability. Am I getting better at this task? And whether you're lifting weights or whether you're dancing or whether you're in Pilates or whether you're, certainly if you're in yoga, you're going to be paying attention to the quality of the movement rather than how many reps you can do. So finally, to wrap up, tip number 3 is calories in the kitchen, ability in the gym. Thanks everybody. Keep on training. And remember, always remember, eat for yourself.